Welcome to Talk with Tara, a podcast where we dive into the bold, the funny, and the fascinating. I'm Tara, your host, bringing you unfiltered conversation on life, love, and everything in between. Hit that follow button so you're always in the loop. And now let's get started. My gosh, you don't know how excited I am to have you on, Debra Mansfield of Love and Dating. It's so good to see you.
Great to see you, Tara. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. And you know what? Valentine's Day is tomorrow. I'm kind of like on the fence about Valentine's Day. You know, I like it because I do have someone in my life, but I know that when Valentine's comes around and I don't have that special someone, I always feel a little kind of awkward. Even though I know it's a Hallmark holiday, it still bothers me. But I'm going to celebrate Valentine's Day tomorrow night with my girlfriends. And then I'm going to embrace Valentine's Day. What can you do?
Even myself for being married, my husband even asked me, like, okay, it's Valentine's Day on Friday. Do we do something? And I'm like, no, don't get me flowers. Absolutely no candy. Can we just stay home?
I know, because you're married and you don't want to waste the money, but I'm still in the courtship phase. I'd love to give everybody a brief introduction to who you are and what you do. We've got Debra Mansfield here. She's a certified dating and relationship coach, and she specializes in singles over 50. The name of her business is Love and Dating. I love that. And with over 2 decades of experience as a dating and relationship coach, Debra specializes in guiding singles over 50 who are re-entering the dating world after a long-term relationship. Whether you're navigating dating with children, blending families, or overcoming dating anxiety, she provides personalized support to help you find a meaningful and lasting connection. Love meaningful and lasting connections. Debra works with clients all across the country, helping them break free from unhealthy dating patterns, especially the cycle of attracting emotionally unavailable partners. I know a lot of women who do that. She knows firsthand how overwhelming dating can feel, particularly if you're introverted, out of practice like I was, or carrying the weight of past disappointments. She also knows the joys of finding someone who truly sees you, and that's what drives her. Her approach goes beyond advice. She offers empathy, which I can attest to, strategy, and proven techniques to help you regain confidence and open your heart again. With her expert guidance, you won't have to leave your love life to chance. I love that, Debra. I love your bio because it's just so who you are. So I want to get into it with you. Before we start talking, tell me how you got involved in this business and how you became a dating expert and coach.
Well, in my first life, I was in finance and I was getting a divorce. And I started out as an executive coach. I myself was going through all the craziness of ups and downs of dating. I was a terrible dater, to be honest, but I did first impressions coaching, and Matchmaker saw me giving a coaching session and asked if I would help her singles. And I had to kind of deep dive into really what relationships were about and what makes meaningful long-term relationships. So I've been doing this ever since. It's been 21 years.
You probably learned a lot about yourself through the process.
I continually learn stuff about myself. Yes.
That's so wonderful. Well, like I said, you know, this February, Valentine's is approaching, and I'm sure New Year's Eve is also a time where people reflect and they think, you know what, this year I want to bring in love. So I'd love to talk to you about how to bring in love. I know that women who are divorcing or separating or contemplating getting separated in midlife are scared. Maybe they look great and they've kept themselves up and they've done everything. Maybe they've gained some weight. They just haven't had time for themselves. They've been doing all the kids stuff and shuffling kids to activities, and they've neglected themselves. But what do you do to help women get back on their feet and back in the dating game? Like, what's your advice?
You know, my advice is to get out there, discover yourself. You don't know who you are right now. And yet you're a different person from your 20s to 30s to 40s, you know, and being single is a completely different space for you. It's new. I really encourage people to get out, try new things. Heal is one of the most important things in a new relationship and part of that new discovery. Kind of go back and maybe look at your past relationships. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What you'd like to change? But even a bigger part, I think, of the growth is really discovering what your part in that relationship was and where maybe you could have done better. And I think that if we don't get that piece in, we're never going to really go on to live our true authentic self with someone.
So the first step is, ladies, look at your life, take stock in your life, figure out what went wrong, what was good about the relationship. If you had kids, that's really great. You had these amazing kids. Be grateful for what you have. So once you get grounded in yourself, okay, I'm ready to go out there. What do you tell women who say, well, this is what was happening to me? And people would say, oh, don't split up. There's no one out there. They're all the good ones are taken. And then anyone your age is going to want to be with someone who's 20 years old. Like, don't even bother. You're screwed. I mean, that's basically the message I was getting when I was contemplating separating. And that kept me in my marriage for a long time. I was frozen in my marriage because I was scared of that. What do you tell women who come to you and they say that?
I had the exact same thing told to me by a therapist. And I was in marriage counseling. My relationship was abusive. And she said, you think your marriage is hard. It's going to be a lot harder single. I was traumatized by that. Did it anyway. And yeah, it is hard, but it's hard in a different way because anytime you're growing, it's hard. But are there great men out there? Yes, there are great men. And one of the things that we forget is men, they want to be vulnerable. They want to be enough and they want to be seen. So I'm going to encourage women to be open, hear the man out. Does it make sense? Go out and enjoy dating, learning about what kind of relationship you want. Go out on more than one date. Don't go on the first date and start thinking about how this person fits into your life.
Such a good tip. Why do we do that as women? We do that. We're like, oh God, I could see he's the one. Oh yeah. Like, why do we do that?
We're changing, we're creating a whole narrative that may or may not be true. We're not giving it a chance. So many times we're wrong. I encourage people to go out on second and third dates. Okay. The first date, we're always trying to impress. We're in our inauthentic self. So therefore, we're not really building connection. And the second date, we get to relax a little bit. We know the person's sense of humor a little bit, and maybe chemistry will start to build. Then on the third date, hopefully it's building more. You're having fun, and then it can turn into something. And then you can start talking about key life values and what's important to you and what you want your life to look like, and maybe a little bit of past relationships.
Okay, so you bring up a very good point. So what should you be talking? So people just get right into it on the first date. I notice men, my ex-wife, oh, she was so horrible. Oh, I have a kid. He has this issue. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going out with this guy again. I know that women do the same thing. They just go on and on about relationships or their illnesses or they're in debt or what do they talk about their first and second date to keep it light and fun? How do we just tape that mouth and just have fun?
So definitely, you've heard this over and over again. Limit the conversation around your exes or your dating experience. No one really wants to hear that. I mean, in a way, you're bonding over your own traumas again, like, oh, I'm dating and it sucks and this and that. But really stick to things that you're excited about. Talk about, like, if your past marriage, like, oh, we're in a, like, point out the positives. If your marriage comes up, just point out, well, we had 2 beautiful kids together. And then next conversation, next topic, talk about what you're up to, what you're excited about, what, things you want to try, things you want to learn, things you love about a restaurant. Show your passions, show your interests.
What are some of the things that you hear that women and men, because I know you coach a lot of men, so I'd love the male perspective. What do men complain about women? I know that women will tell me, oh my God, the guy talks about himself the whole time. I actually like that because I want to know everything about the guy right away. But someone will see that as selfish or self-centered, and they'll just dump everything about themselves. And they won't ask you very many questions about you. They won't ask you about your career. I mean, I've had times where I've gone on dates and guys hasn't asked one question about my career or anything. And I leave and I wonder, like, God, that guy just so not into me because he doesn't even care. But what are some complaints that you hear from men and women about things that men do? Is it talking about themselves the whole time? And why do they do that? Are they nervous?
They're nervous. And it's also a default because if you go to a party, whether you're married or single, go to a party, how many people actually ask you about yourself, right? That's
wah, wah.
Exactly. And it's like, I would count, like my husband and I had a joke about, okay, how many times did you get asked a question? Like none.
That's true.
And so it's kind of the same thing that happens in dating, but it's a nervous energy definitely for men where they're trying to impress. They want to be liked again. They want to be, feel like they're also taking a lead. They tend to talk about themselves. But what I'll have women do is maybe they'll talking about their career and they can ask them about, well, what made you get into that? And what's your, what did you like about that? And then they can spin it on their self and go, oh, well, that's why I got into dating and relationship coaching. I love people. I love problem solving. I love growth. So you're actually telling them about yourself without them asking. But the other issue the other topic I always hear is women have a very long checklist.
Yes.
And it is, they want the men to make so much money. They want them to be so tall. They want them to be athletic. They want them to be good looking. They want, the list is long.
Yes, I've heard that.
And that is very much a turnoff. Men want to be enough, as do we. Like, we have to put ourselves for once we go on a date on defense, and that is good for no one. Like, we're not building connection there. We're just bobbing and weaving, So we really need to connect in an authentic, real way. And that means by talking about, you can connect even on some of your hardships or your growth. I want to say growth, what you learned, but in that positive way. What did I learn about my divorce? I learned that I like to be in a partnership, truly. I like the independence I have. I like having my friends, and I like him having his friendships and his independence. And then we come together and have our combined life.
Right.
And that doesn't work for everyone. That just works for me.
Right. I like that. What about proximity? So let's say I get this question a lot from my friends. They call me for advice and they'll say, the guy lives in Los Gatos. Do I meet him halfway? And I'm like, no, let him drive to you the first time. Let him show that he's interested in you. And when I was online dating, if they didn't want to come see me in my town, I wouldn't go out with them. There were some times I just didn't want to bump into people in my town and I'd meet them in San Francisco. But that's because I wanted to meet them in San Francisco. But I think if they're courting you, they should come to you. And I'm old fashioned. I respect women who are more modern, but if they want kind of a traditional guy who's going to court you, I think they should come to you. What do you think guys, like, as soon as you're like, I'm going to go to Los Gatos or I'll meet you halfway, do you think our value kind of diminishes as soon as we say that? They're like, she's not a high value woman? I
think a couple of things. I think one is if I'm along the same lines that you are, I'm very traditional and I do believe in the male-female roles. And so I do want a man, if he's interested, to take the lead and go all the way down to wherever I am, if it's an hour away. And what am I going to do? I'm going to receive that well. I'm going to thank him for driving. And then I would want the person to kind of continue that courting, because it shows that they're really into you and that means that you're close to the one, not one of many.
Right. I like that.
If you make it really easy for men, then you just get lumped into the group in the cycle of women he's been dating all around.
I totally agree with that. What about paying for a date? These women, I have a lot of women friends, and I'm speaking from experience here because I want to send their questions out to you. They'll go on a date and they'll say, I paid half. I put down my card. And I'm like, why did you do that? I mean, they asked you out. Why don't you let them court you? And they're like, well, I just felt, I felt bad. I felt like I should pay for half. And I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think it puts you in the friend zone very quickly.
Yeah.
I think you're just sliding right in there and you don't even know it. You're not even aware. I think that a high value man who's serious about a long-term committed relationship is going to pay for the date. And I always have women test it. Offer to pay.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh.
And if they do offer to pay or if they accept it, you're in the friend zone.
Right.
That's it. So that's a quick thing if a man was attracted to a woman, he would never let her pay.
Yeah. That's interesting.
If he's not attracted to you, that tells you exactly where you stand if he lets you pay.
I want that guy to pay. I mean, listen, I can take myself out to dinner and lunch and vacate, whatever. But it's just the principle. Like, no, he asked me out. I think he should court me. And I don't even offer to pay.
So the big misconception I really feel with men going out and women, men think women are only after the financial security.
That's true.
And they feel like women are the gold diggers. And as women are like, all men are players. They've got 25 girlfriends and they're not going to settle down. And so the high value man wants to know that you value him too. So he's going to pay for the date, but he's going to appreciate the gesture.
Okay.
And he should be able to go, no. I think, but you're going to know where you stand quickly.
It's so interesting. So, one of my podcasts, I explained my first date with this guy. He was super cute and it was my first online date. And we went to this great restaurant and we closed the restaurant down and he walked me to my car and he checked on me when I got home, never asked me out again. So how do women not take this personally? When you're first dating and things like that happen and you haven't been out on it for a while, that can really throw you for a loop. I was just mystified. But how do you not take this whole dating thing personally? It's hard.
It's very hard. And the emotional journey of the date is exhausting. You're so excited to go out on this date. You kind of have a nice time. You think you like him. You think he's kind of attractive. You think he might like you. He gives you this false hope and then you go down and then it's like, it takes you a bit, right?
Yeah.
And then you get ready for the second date and it's the same thing and you're exhausted. And this is why we become bitter and not wanting to go out on a date and emotionally guarded. One of the takeaways from this, to be totally honest, is it's not about you. It really isn't. It's about the person and their readiness to actually date. And we don't know what it is. It could be, oh my gosh, she just seems like a really quality woman and I'm not in that space yet. I don't even want to commit to a relationship. I'm working. It could be their job. It could be anything. So we create a whole story around they don't like me. And that's not true. They have, really on them to see that something didn't work. They're not ready to give it a second chance.
But sometimes they just don't like you. It's chemistry. You could be, and I say this in my podcast, you can be the most beautiful woman. And if the guy doesn't have chemistry for you, not that I'm saying I am, I'm just saying in general, you could be great. And if the guy doesn't have chemistry for you, he doesn't have chemistry. It's not, you can't put a finger on what chemistry is. You can be, not the hottest woman, have this dynamic personality, and the guy just finds you irresistible. We can't really define chemistry, right? I mean, it isn't personal.
It isn't personal. It's chemistry. And with men, chemistry is something that they either have it or they don't with the woman.
Mm-hmm.
With women, our chemistry can grow. We can start to find them more attractive as we get to know them. We start to see the sparkle in their eyes, their smile, how they light up. And that feeling starts to come across. And we're just like, oh my gosh, he's becoming more attractive all the time. I really like him. And then, over time, where men, the chemistry doesn't grow like that.
Interesting. I wonder why. It doesn't grow for men. So that's very interesting. So ladies, if he's not into you, he's not into you. It's not going to grow. Don't try to come up with some story that's make you irresistible to some random guy. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You can't say the right things. There's no perfect words. There are no, for a long-term relationship, you can jump into bed quickly with someone and that's going to be short-lived. But because there's still the chemistry for the woman thinks there's this big connection there and there really isn't. But that's hormones. That's the oxytocin talking.
So I watched this TED Talk with this amazing lady and she was talking about oxytocin and vasopressin and testosterone and dopamine. And she was saying that women bond with their oxytocin. When we have children, we breastfeed. That's how we bond with our children, how we hug someone. Even if I come close to you on camera, I'm giving you oxytocin. So that's how we bond. And men, when they love you or they start to show that they really want you is when they commit. And they have a hormone called vasopressin that's the bonding hormone. That's their hormone. And when they have sex with you and they ejaculate, they get rid of their vasopressin. So it's a scientific thing. If you sleep with them too soon, they could just not bond with you. So what do you think about sex? And I think women nowadays will go out, meet some really great guy online and they'll think they can nab him because they're going to be great in bed. And I think anyone could be great in bed. It's getting to know you, getting to be elusive, be mysterious, let the guy chase you a little bit. That's his testosterone kicking in. Then, slowly he will want to see you more and more. And that's how you're going to bond with him. I think if you sleep with him, you lose him pretty quickly. Not all the time, but I mean, in general. What do you think?
Well, I really think I agree with what you're saying, but I think that there's a time and a place for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're new to dating and you've been in a marriage for 20 years and you don't know who you are, maybe it was a sexless marriage, maybe go out, have sex.
Right.
Okay. But let it go. Let it just keep it as this is just sex.
Okay.
I'm enjoying myself. I'm experiencing my body. I'm learning to have an orgasm again.
Right.
Whatever, so there's
Or
that
learning
side
how
of
to an
it.
orgasm period. I mean, maybe they haven't had, I've heard that too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
Right. Exactly. So there's a time and a place for one night stands and having sex quickly and learning about yourself. But when
I
you're
like that.
ready for an intentional relationship that's going to, when you're kind of done and you're ready to settle down and you want a long-term committed relationship, I think that you need to be clear about what your relationship looks like. You're dating with intention. So I think for a high value woman who knows what she wants now and knows what her values are, then you've got to kind of let this relationship move along a little slower in the sense that you're going to get to know someone. You're going to build that emotional bond. You're going to connect. You're going to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And I think once you're at that point, most likely you're going to be already in an exclusive relationship.
Right. Right.
And then I think because you're connecting and you're
Right.
going to want to spend all this time with him. He's going to want to spend all this time with you. And you know it. You know he's not dating 20 other people.
Right.
Because he's actually stopped. He's like, I only want to focus on one woman. I really like you. And this is my energy. And I think that's when you open up to sex.
Okay. You bring up a good point. So women will be online dating and the guy doesn't say, I've stopped. Do they ask first, or how do you have that conversation? Like if they keep, like, let's say you're on date 10 and you're not sure that the guy is still dating other women. He hasn't said anything to you. What do you do?
So one of my favorite things to have women do is to tell the men, this is not exclusive until we have the conversation. It's exclusive.
Okay. When do you tell that? When do you say that?
I say it right when people say it right in the beginning, maybe after the third date or fourth, when you start to feel like this is, just so you know, I'm not feeling that this is exclusive until we have the conversation that we're exclusive.
Okay.
And most men are going to push that button really quick to say, oh, this is exclusive, or I want this to be exclusive. The man who isn't ready for a long-term relationship, is not emotionally ready, is going to go, okay, that's fine. And keep moving. The guy that says, oh no, you're my next wife, this is exclusive. So I think by just being open and honest and, okay, so say you're on date 10 and you did have that, go just like bringing it up saying, I'm feeling that I could be ready to be exclusive and see where it goes. At that date 10, he doesn't know whether he wants to be exclusive. I'm going to say next.
God, I think at date 10, you should be, put your walking shoes on. Like,
right.
He's right. Like,
right.
That's not a good sign.
He could have already said to you or thought in his mind, oh, I've been exclusive since we met.
Right.
Like my husband, I wasn't exclusive with him. He goes, but I was exclusive from the moment I met you. That was it.
Oh, that's so cute.
And I told him the conversation, but he was a little gun shy about saying, okay, I'm ready to be exclusive. I don't know how to, am I supposed to chase her? Am I not? Until we had that conversation again.
Oh, that's good advice. Let's talk about masculine and feminine roles. Like, what are your thoughts of feminine and masculine?
Well, and it's also different as we're older too.
Okay.
Because, we've accomplished a lot.
That's
we
true.
know a lot.
Yes.
We've led things, we've run households, we've run businesses, and so I think that, yes, in the early part of a relationship too, we do want that femininity because it's nurturing, it's caring, it's warm, it's empathetic, it's being able to hear someone and listen to them. And men want to be able to be vulnerable. They don't want to feel like they're in the boardroom having a fight every time and having a debate about something. They want to be able to be heard and share their feelings without judgment. And so I do think that feminine energy is very important because it's loving and nurturing. And I think there's a space for it, meaning that if you're the person who's running your household, you're going to have that take charge attitude for a lot of things. Again, find your space. My space is in the inside of the house. My husband's space is on the outside of the house.
Okay.
And I think, and what that is a little bit of the protection.
Yes.
I want you to guard the house. I want you to make sure security is, check the doors, check the windows, and let me cook.
So what about love languages? Do you believe in love languages?
Absolutely. Because we all have them, right? We all have the main ways that we feel or accept love. And if one of the myths is that it's all about physical touch.
Right.
And that's just sex is getting in the way there. So let's put that in the back burner because it might not always be physical touch. It is, and physical touch is that just holding their hand, just touching them, just being supported. And I hear this all the time when you're only giving your love language, like if it's gifts. If I give my husband gifts, he can care less about the gifts.
Right.
I'm the one that likes gifts, and I like
gifts.
quality. I like quality time too. So quality time is my main and gifts is my second, right? For him, it's quality time and physical touch.
Okay.
So at least there's those two things but acts of kindness, acts of service, those are really important things. So we have to know how somebody receives love. For instance, I had a client who, did this complete makeover on his wife's pantry. Well, she doesn't cook, but he thought this was an act of service. She didn't receive that as like, I wish she would have helped me with my office instead of the kitchen so knowing where to direct your energy and your act of service or gifts or love, or like, you wouldn't want to give a gift that's, a golf club if she doesn't golf.
Right.
That doesn't, so those kinds of things.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, let's get into this list you were talking about, the list that women write. So I have a friend, she's like, oh, you just write 6 things on your list. So I wrote a list, and tall is on. Anytime I ask my girlfriend, like, oh, what are you looking for? Tall is like the first thing they say. I think that really limits the pool when they want a tall guy. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, 1000%. So being in this business for all these years, I hear that as like the number one thing. Tall, financially successful, blah, blah, blah.
Number 2.
And the thing is that where does that really come from? You're limiting yourself. So it comes from protection. It comes from security. It comes from maybe power. Maybe he's CEO, authority, a leader. So what we're really looking for is someone who is going to protect the family again.
Right.
And I think when we put it in perspective of why we want someone tall, it's not a relationship value. It's not a quality. That's just a physical attribute.
Exactly.
I always laugh about like Shrek, the movie.
Yeah.
Because even the princess went with the tall ogre to go live in a hut.
Right.
The short Lord Farquaad.
Right.
His name was.
That's true.
It was like, so in the fairy tales and the romances that we see, social status, but that comes from like our own insecurity that we need to have this tall guy. And my husband is not tall, dated men that were tall. My previous husband was very tall. And I remember going, oh my God, I've had the best sex of my life because somebody is closer to my height.
That's what I say. That's to my son. I've already said that on the podcast. People are probably tired of hearing me, but I always say it doesn't matter when you're horizontal. I mean, it really doesn't. I think women limit themselves. Yeah, take that off your list, ladies, right?
Well, the lists are long. And I had a client recently that showed up with 5 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Of what she was
Good luck,
for.
lady. Sorry,
and
client.
I actually was like, I'm like, let's get rid of all of this and let's get down to 3 and let's talk about relationship quality. Would you rather have someone that is tall, that is cheating on you, that is lying to you or gambling your money away? Or would you rather have a man who is 5'10", 5'9", that is a great listener, loves you, adores you, values you, respects you, wants the best for you, meets you halfway, has your best interest at heart? Like,
right.
Come on, we are making a big mistake by focusing on external values.
Okay, well, let's talk about one thing that's very important. Is like, what is on the man's list? Because you have a lot of male clients. What are their superficial things that are on their list?
Oh my gosh. Well, young.
Yeah.
You get young, you get somebody, I want to date somebody. Every man's like, oh no, I don't want to date somebody younger. I want to do 20 to 30 is good. Young, hot.
Great body.
Right, great body. And honestly, that's really it. I don't get a lot of has a great job. They know to that young girl, they're going to be enough. Life is going to be easier with her in a way because she's having fun. She's open. She's curious. She's interested. They make them feel good, youthful. But those are the things that when we sit there with our checklist,
right.
What? Okay,
right.
Well, how attractive is that? I mean, it's not attractive. It's not, It's not open. It's not inviting. And so men just want to be free a lot of times. And I think that younger girl.
Don't you think they also want just a young, hot girl? I mean, they just like the trophy on their arm to tell all the other guys, like, look what I have. I have this young, hot girl. I mean, we're all laughing at the guy. We're all looking at the 6-year-old guy with the 20-year-old going, We know she's after the money, right? I mean, that's
Right.
what we're thinking, guys, like when you're with a 20-year-old. But, like a 60-year-old guy could be with a 40-year-old woman and she's 20 years younger still. And that could work. But I think men are very physical, right? It's very physical for men.
Well, it's physical, but it's also about how you make them feel.
Interesting. Yeah, you would know because yeah.
So, and I dated an older man. I dated a man that was 23 years older than me, and I was madly in love with him.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, and it was real lifestyle, it would have never worked because we wanted different things. I allowed them to be vulnerable. I was there about making them feel good. We don't appreciate men a lot. Like, how many times do we compliment a man? Especially think about our marriages. Do we tell them they look so handsome? Do we tell them, are appreciative of the things they do? We don't. And so when finally a man is, especially towards the end of their relationship, the woman's pretty much, I hate you.
Right.
And
get out.
So get out of my face. No, I'm not having sex with you.
Yeah. No.
Oh, wait, are we done yet? I mean,
yeah.
I think if someone hears like, oh my gosh, she likes me. And I've seen it over and over again with a lot of older men dating younger women, that it's because they are truly being appreciated. I've also seen it with women who are not afraid to compliment men.
Right.
So I've seen it with older women who go, oh, isn't he handsome? Or he's so nice, or they appreciate those. And then and you could see it because the men, they light up.
They light up. I've seen that. Yeah.
But I also feel the other part is men want to be the hero.
Yes. Yes. Let's talk about that.
So let them do what they do best, whether it's, provide, if it's protect, if it's, whatever, taking out the garbage, let them shine in that role of being the hero. And when they do, then they give us what we need as well. They support us, they protect us.
That's so interesting. Yeah. No, you're right. The hero. I've heard that a lot. They want to be the hero.
Also, for women, I think that, as we're older, we have a hard time letting men be the hero because we've done everything ourselves. That kind of goes back to the feminine masculine role again. Where is their place in the relationship, and what's your place in the relationship? Where's your role? What are the things that you bring, and what are your assets?
Speaking of assets, a lot of women want a man who's very financially secure. So, okay, the man wants a hot woman. The woman wants a financially secure guy. What about women who have a lot of their own money, right? They're pretty well off and they're like, nope, I'm not going to date a guy who's not as wealthy as I am. But there's probably only 1% of the United States that can be at that wealth level. So what do you tell women who are looking for this financial, what if the guy is fine financially, but he's not wealthy? What's your advice to women?
So it really comes down to a partnership. And most women because I do work with many very wealthy women, and maybe it's about the lifestyle. So can they afford to do the similar things that the woman can do? If they're if they fly first class, can they afford that? So as long as, and women spend money on different things. We spend money on fashion and whatever, just different things. And men don't really spend money on a lot other than maybe their wine collection or their vacation, their dinners. But their car, right? So I feel like, most men, if they make a little bit less money or have their assets aren't quite as what, it's fine, because as long as their lifestyles are similar and they want to do, it's not keeping someone from doing something. Nothing would be worse than I fly first class and you're going to fly coach, And
I've had that conversation with my boyfriend, and he's like, I don't think spending, $6,000 business class is worth it for me. So you fly in the front, I'll fly in the back. Because I had to get that out of the way. He's a guy's guy. He can care less.
Right.
And I mean, of course, if he can get a business class seat, he'd like it, but he doesn't want to spend that kind of money. He thinks it's a waste of money. He's like, it's 8 hours. I can rough it. But if you can't rough it, you do what you have to do. And so we had to have that talk. It was very awkward.
I'm sure.
But he has so many other amazing qualities that are important to me, that are rare. So I had to be like, is this a deal breaker? How often do I travel anyway?
Right.
Right?
And most of the time you're going to be sleeping. You're going to put your headphones on, you're going to sleep or read or, So coming to like deal breakers, like
Yes,
what
deal
are
breakers.
those deal breakers? Is it that spending time together? Like where do you want to focus on your relationship, and what is an absolute deal breaker? And I really feel that absolute deal breakers really need to be around values, meaning honesty, trust, lifestyle.
Right.
If you're a healthy lifestyle person and you're dating somebody who drinks and smokes, that's going to prevent you guys from really connecting and bonding and moving forward in a long-term relationship. Because it has to do with respect. You're not going to respect their lifestyle. And those are things that are important. So I think deal breakers really should be focused on things that they're going to keep you apart.
Okay. Well, as we start to wrap up, I wanted to talk about what you do versus a matchmaker. Tell us a little bit about the difference and when to go online, when to use a matchmaker.
Yeah, happy to. So I am a dating and relationship coach.
Okay.
And I get people ready when they are maybe first out there on online dating, helping them with their profiles, not getting so emotionally burnt out.
Okay.
So help them show their authentic selves. But before we get to me, I generally like people to go online. So I think your first step, so my advice to anybody would be go online first. Check out what's out there, because especially if you haven't been dating in a long time. What I do know as being a matchmaker for many years too, is that every person, famous, C-suite executives, that everyone has been online and they just want to go out and check it out. So you can find some amazing people. What the downside to online dating is you've got a ton of bots now and you don't know who's real. And you also don't know who's been online forever, right? There are people that are just addicted to online dating. There's also people that are married there. So there's whole techniques about how to handle online dating.
Okay.
So that you don't burn out and don't waste your time, and also develop an attitude of there's nothing out there. Everyone online is terrible, and because that is not true. And online will differ depending on where you are geographically.
Okay.
So depending on the pool. So online is going to have the largest pool of people.
Okay.
So if you go to matchmaking, now I highly suggest that you go to see a dating coach before you go on to matchmaking, because matchmaking is very expensive and you're getting one date at a time.
Like $250,000 or something, right?
It can be. Yeah. It can be.
What is the range? Like 20 to probably 200.
So it's about 10,000 a month.
Okay.
Often is what it like on average. So I mean, you can get some that are a little less, but somebody who's going to say they're going to match you in 3 months, they don't even know you in 3 months.
Right.
So, and you haven't even known yourself. You don't know. So where I come in is, let's talk about your past relationships. Were you with a narcissist?
Okay.
Were you trauma bonding in your past relationship? What is it that you truly want? What does you want your lifestyle to look like? So I start to really design what it is you're looking for and start to also see the red flags.
Okay. Red flags.
Like red flags. So people being inconsistent. Are they ghosting you? Especially the people that they've ghosted you and then they come back to you, 2 or 3 months later with a hi.
Right.
How are
right.
you? So all of these emotions, I help people really see through that.
Oh, I would have liked that.
Yeah, I think we all would.
Okay. Yeah. Cause you want someone in your corner. You feel very isolated. Like I was like, what is this? I had to call my friend's sister to ask her, like, what is it? Why aren't they responding? Like, I didn't understand. Who are these people?
Right.
She had to help me.
Again, like how to not be completely overwhelmed with that crazy chemistry that happens right out of the gate when you meet someone and it's off the charts chemistry.
Trauma bonding.
That's also a false, right? It's trauma bonding. It's false sense of, reality. So, but people they go right back to that. So.
Okay. So one of the things I saw you did on your website when I was researching you, which I wish I would have known when I started out, was that you do this whole thing like photographer, picking the right outfits for the photos, getting your online dating profile started. Like I wish I would have had someone to help me do that at the beginning because I was just clueless. Can you talk a little bit about that? That was so interesting.
Yeah, happy to. So many people are representing themselves online, like almost in the complete opposite of who they are.
Right. Okay.
And so there's a few things like I'll take a man, for instance. I was working with this man and he had all these photos of him in a bow tie. And I'm like, tell me about that, and I'm like, do you wear bow ties often? And he's like, no, I was at a derby party. He's like, I've never worn a bow tie in my life other than the derby parties. And so, but he just liked those pictures of himself. Well, somebody scrolling through photos is going to go, that's a very certain type of guy that's going to wear a bow tie.
Right.
And they're passing judgment.
Right.
Same thing with a lot of times women will show up in, a lot of bikini shots or a lot of selfies. And that isn't really who you are either,
Right.
or you're attracting the wrong type of person. So that's just the hookup. That's not the long-term relationship.
Right.
Also, it's inauthentic. A lot of times, a lot of the questions are like, what would you do if you were a superhero? Or what would be your, and it's like, how is that relevant?
I know.
And so it's about trying to show your authenticity, but yet your personality shine. So those are some of the things that I really help with. Also managing your social media, because what do you do when you finally connect with someone?
Mm-hmm.
You go Google them, right? And then you see all these photos of them before. So I also help people control their social media. But I bring out a photographer. I have a contract with photographers all over the country. They know what I'm looking for, what types of photos I'm looking for, things to avoid. Photos, women do this all the time. They will take a picture with a bunch of their girlfriends. Men do it too. But the girlfriends that they show are all these like other hot girlfriends.
Oh.
And then they will look through the photos and go, oh, I wonder if she's single. And by that time, they've already left they've already like, next. Even though you could have been someone that they would have actually connected with, they have gotten so distracted and they're on to the next thing.
That's interesting. Wow. I heard to have a girlfriend shot and never thought of that. That's a really good takeaway.
So there's ways to right. You want to, you do want to have some shots with friends and lifestyle and hobbies. And then as far as dressing, like I had a client recently was going to take a photo shoot and she was going to wear a suit.
Oh, masculine energy.
So, right. Part of that was, I'm like, think dating.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to wear on a date? What's your wardrobe? And she's like, I don't have anything to go on a date. I haven't lost weight yet. I'm not where I want to be. So my advice is to go in and get some things that you can wear on a date. Just, something nice, a dress or whatever you feel in. It could be a nice pair of, pants with a lovely blouse, but think date, think feminine energy.
You have such good style. You help style your clients as well?
I do, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be huge. I think that would be an advantage for many people because a lot of people don't have a personal brand or style and they need that when they're going out there again.
They need that. Plus it builds confidence. Again, when you feel good, like there's nothing sexier than confidence.
I agree.
Nothing more attractive than confidence.
That's true. I always say that. I mean, this has been an incredible session with you. You went through a lot, but any key takeaways you want to give our listeners?
Be intentional with dating, really know yourself, do your work, and be open. Go out, have fun, get to know someone. Don't look at that other person as how they're going to fit into your life. Don't think of them as your next husband or the one, or just go out, learn something about yourself, learn something new. Be curious.
I love that. Yeah, be curious. Can you, Debra, tell us again your website?
You could find me at loveanddatingmasterclass.com.
That's great. Okay. Do you teach a masterclass?
I do, yes.
Oh, well, just tell us about that.
So I do. It's a combination of men and women, and it's an open forum. And we really go through a lot of online dating, faux pas, and also dispel a lot of misinformation out there. So I always love to have the women bring up some questions and talk about things that struggles they're having, and then also with the men. And so we can really see that what we all want is to be seen and be enough and be able to be vulnerable and love again. We're all so guarding our hearts.
Yeah, we want to be loved again. So yeah. Oh God, I love this masterclass. That sounds amazing. Oh wow. Okay, check out Debra Mansfield's website, sign up for that masterclass. I'm going to refer people to that. And don't forget, we're with Debra Mansfield at Love and Dating. Thank you so much, Debra. This has been so insightful, and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Tara. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Talk with Tara. If you love today's episode, follow the show and share it with a friend. Stay tuned. There's so much more to talk about. See you next time.